Good morning. My name is Reverend Dale Olansky, and we are the Fabulous Five. And this is Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert. We're so grateful that you are joining us today for some stimulating conversation as our Reverend Cheryl is going to be giving us a wonderful topic to contemplate, to discuss, to inspire. And we would love for you, by the way, to also be a part of the conversation and share your questions and insights with us throughout our show today. As we start every show, though, we are going to begin with prayer. So I invite you just to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you and just relax with me in this knowing of this extraordinary opportunity that has availed itself for all of us today to jump into this idea of finding equality with others and what's underneath that and what is for us to do to be able to live a life where we see all is one. And so I know that as we open up our time together, that our hearts are open, our minds are open to just be present to what we are hearing and what is ours to share, knowing it is all about love and it is all about that divine essence that we all are, allowing that to be conscious in our awareness, to know who we are, and to be free to communicate, to uplift, to stand with each other, to offer support, and just be in this wonderful experience of life, knowing of the greater good that is always evolving by means of us. And so knowing in my heart that everything is unfolding perfectly, as all technical issues no longer are issues, as Reverend Cheryl can now hear everything and share her beautiful, beautiful insights for all of us to contemplate and discuss today. I'm so grateful to see how everything is unfolding with ease and grace, knowing that we are guided by that infinite presence. And so without further ado, I just let go, knowing all is well as we say together, and so it is. So good morning, everybody. Today we have a very interesting question, our little icebreaker for y'all to get a little more insight into who we are and how we each see life and things a little bit differently. Reverend Cheryl has a great question that is, why is the USA such a great place to live? And my God, could her question be more timely? And she created this question weeks and weeks ago. Well, for myself, there are a lot of things I love about America. And honestly, I've only lived in the United States my whole life, although I've traveled a little bit. But one of the things I love about America is just the idea behind it and our Constitution. Just knowing that this place that we live in, although it can get messy and we can go into places that aren't so congruent with the original thoughts of our forefathers, we always come back to center. We always come back to being grounded in the principles that guide our nation. And that makes me very happy to be a citizen of the United States. And beyond that, I also love the United States, the people, the diversity, and the country is just gorgeous. We have such a diversity of different types of areas and environments to live in. If we want to live in America, we have everything from the desert to the mountains to the sea. And I think it's an extraordinary place. And for me, I'm proud to be an American. Reverend William, what do you say?
Am I unmuted? Yes, I'm unmuted now. Yes, definitely. It is the ability to express one's own ideas, express your own individualism with others around you. Sometimes it seems like it's a little bit difficult. It's just like a family, you know. You get together, you sit down at the dinner table, all well and good, but there are times when siblings do argue and do fight, and that's just the nature of being. Not really excited about what's happening in America right now, but you know what? All I know is that there is a higher and good that is unfolding at all times, and just like siblings having an argument, disagreeing, I can see that and I can appreciate that. But focusing on being able to talk and siping one's emotions into the realm of anger is a real good way of handling that. And that is what I love about America, is that for the most part, we do deliberate, we do talk, we have an open forum for communication. And that is exactly what I do love about America. It is always changing. It is always expanding, just like this philosophy that we are talking about here. It is just evolving at all times, but it is always taking the mass and what the collective wants to or thinks is important. And that's where the voting and the talking and deliberation comes from. And so there is, for the most part, a peaceful collaboration of ideas and a peaceful way of talking about new ideas and implementing those ideas based upon what we, the people, want. So regardless of what's been happening lately, I still believe that we are a good example. I wouldn't say great, but I would say a good example for the rest of the world. And that's where I'm just going to leave it right there, that we have the ability and the wherewithal to be able to talk and have a government that listens to the people. And that's what I love about America. So I believe that is Reverend Gail is next.
Yes, thank you, Reverend William. And what I really love about this question that Reverend Cheryl created for us today is that, and this is really what she shared. These are her thoughts. Is that there's so much negative talk about the United States right now, but that's not what we follow in our teaching. What we follow is and advocate is, what is it that you're for? And that's why she created this question. What is it that we love about the United States of America? So in answering this question really begged a lot of thought from me. Particularly given that our topic for today is all about equality. And that's because for me, there are so many things that I love about the United States. I greatly value free speech. I value freedom of religion. And more broadly, I love the fact that the United States has the highest charitable giving rate in the entire world. And it was really personally instructive for me to take a look at the long list that I came up with of things that I love about the United States. In answering this question, I had to search every cell of my body just to drill down to one. And I finally decided what I love the most about the United States, and it's our system of government. It's democracy, a government for and by the people. There are many, many possible systems of government. There's monarchies, there's theocracies, there's autocracies, but only democracy allows all groups, regardless of race, gender, identity, class, or sexual orientation. It allows everyone to participate in and have a voice in government. And that sounds like equality to me. And yes, for me, that is something to love. So, Reverend Bradley, how about you?
There's a great ending speech. Thanks, Reverend Gail. A great ending speech at the movie The American President that I've probably watched 70 or 80 times. And he does a great description. Now, Michael Douglas does a great description of what's great about living in the United States, where his phrasing is something like, I can stand on a box and scream at the top of my lungs that which you want to stand on a box and scream at the top of your lungs against. And that's what we get to do. And then after that, there is no reason, we hopefully learn this in intimate relationships. We can't go have coffee, because I'm going to refer to another, first thing when this question came up, I thought of, red wine and dark chocolate are yummy. And I'm still not going to eat it for every single meal, but I will take democracy for every single meal. And I think we're the longest standing democracy on the planet. And what's great is that I know I'm kind of discombobulated here. I'm still kind of blown away at whenever I read about the founding fathers. Sorry, there weren't any women in there. I'm sure they were behind the scenes. We just chose not to record them, of putting the structure together that's lasted so long. There's tons of challenges along the way, and we go in and out of the purity of it and the clarity of it and the peace of it. And it's still a place where I can say, I totally agree with that elected representative, or I totally disagree with that elected representative. And I still get to go to my job and have a family and go shopping. And no one's going to stop me, and no one's going to hinder me. And I think besides those freedoms in, many democracies around the world, like there's like almost 200, but us being the longest standing, I think is really definitive for the structure of our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the follow-up amendments that are there. It just blows me away of the structure that's there. Knowing that with any structure, amazingness can come out of it and just junk can come out of it. But there's a background foundation that supports it being available to even be greater in any given moment. Kind of like our teaching. It's like in any given moment, I can misuse the law and screw up my life, or I can use the law and have an awesome life. And at any moment, I can still take that base foundation and create amazingness. So that's my sharing. How about you, Reverend Cheryl?
Well, for me, I have a different kind of view because most people don't know this about me, but I was actually born in Germany. I think all my crew over here knows. I was born a German citizen. I was adopted by Americans when I was 10 days old is when they got me. And so for me, it's this thing of looking at where I could have been and where I am. I could have been a German citizen. I was naturalized when I was 3 years old. That's when they changed the law in 1959 to, oh God, I just told you how old I am. They changed the law in 1959 to allow your mother or your parent to take the oath for you to become an American citizen once, because they'd had me since I was so young. And I was actually the youngest person in Texas to be naturalized at the time. So I was on TV and everything, and I don't even remember it. That was my 10 minutes of fame, and I don't even know about it, but the thing about it, about being an American, it just, I am so grateful to be here. No matter what's going on, we still have the right to speak our voice, to choose what we believe as far as our religious choices, to honor and know that this is a melting pot. I mean, there's so much diversity in America. It's not like in Italy where you've been there for thousands and thousands of years, the same, group of people. We have a diversity, and that to me is the most beautiful thing about this country, is that everybody is originally from somewhere else. We were never, except for the Native Americans, but now they're saying they came across the Bering Strait, in Alaska. So anyway, but it's just the thing of knowing that we all came together and we made this work, and it's worked for so long. And every time I say the Pledge of Allegiance, I get mushy because I'm so grateful to be here. It's just such a beautiful place. It is. I mean, even though we have some conflicts at times, like William said, we're still a family. We don't always get along with all the family, at all times. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But it doesn't change the fact that I think that this is the greatest nation in the world. I really do. And I'm so grateful to be here. So moving on to my topic today, it's finding equality with others. And there's a great quote. It's from the 12 Steps of Forgiveness by Paul Ferrini. And it says, as long as we're taking responsibility for our own lives, remember that, own lives, we do not place inappropriate expectations upon others or unnecessary burdens upon ourselves. So if we're living in a situation where what somebody else says is causing a wound within us, they didn't cause the wound. We already had the wound for them to poke. So if things are really escalating for you, realize that the escalation is not from what's happening around you. It's escalating because of something within you and what you're feeling. And if you're feeling angry about the situation or whatever's going on right now, because you are feeling, it's kind of a disappointment because other people didn't meet your expectations. Just think about it. When somebody does something and you expected them to react in one way and they reacted differently, sometimes it makes you angry. You know, it's like I told my child to do this and that this is what they should do. And then they do something totally, absolutely different. And then you feel kind of, well, why didn't you take my advice? Why didn't you do this? Because they're on their own journey. So the anger is just that your disappointment has nothing to do with them. And then the expectations, there's where you really set yourself up. My expectations of you set me up for rejection. Think about it. If I'm expecting you to do one thing and you do something else, then I might feel rejected. Why didn't you take my advice? I feel rejected. But that was because your own expectations have brought you to the point to where you are putting demands or a burden on someone else that is only you that is expecting that. You can't live someone else's life. You can't tell them how to feel. So you cannot change someone else, but you can change your expectations of them. And just, you know, with all the stuff and things that are going on, and it was just like Reverend Dale said, this was a topic that was chosen several weeks ago, and just for it to appear right now, I feel like there's a divine intervention here, that this needs to be heard. And believe me, I didn't know I was going to be the voice to do it, but it's just kind of really cool when you think about it, that everything that is going on right now sets us up either to have a learning experience and try to understand what other people are feeling or going through. We can learn from this experience, or we can sit here and just self-crucify ourselves for everything that's going on. You know, what could I have done differently? What could happen that would have been better? You know, how could this outcome have been changed? Or what would be the reaction if it was a different way? Well, we don't know that. All we know is that when we take responsibility for our own lives and the way that we are appearing in the world, how we are interacting with other people, whether we agree with them or disagree, we are all still, according to Science of Mind, which is what my belief system is built upon, we are all still one energy created as individualized expressions. And what other people are expressing is a reflection of who they are. What you are expressing is a reflection of who you are. And so for me, I just want to show up in the world as a person that is loving and accepting of others. I don't have to agree with them, but I do have to love them. Love them for who they are, and love them for what they express, and love them for whatever is going on, and stop thinking of the separation and divisiveness and that we are separate because we have a different opinion. It's not possible, guys. It's just not possible to be separate. We are all one energy, just expressing God in every moment. So how are you showing up in the world? That's what I want. That's my question to you. How are you expressing God in your life? Is it with anger, or is it with love? Is it with hatred, or is it with love? All of these things come back to one thing. Are you showing up as love in the world? Anyway, I'd like to turn it over to my lovely cohorts, and I will now mute and go back so I can hear what everybody's saying.
I guess I'll jump in. You're absolutely right. It is always an inside job. What somebody else does is on them. How we react to it, we talk and we teach. It is our own responsibility. It is our own doing on how we have reacted to that person. So Every relationship is 50-50. And when you come from that, you really have to take ownership of your own thoughts, your own emotions. And with our philosophy, when Reverend Cheryl was talking about we are one, we truly are. A lot of philosophies believe that there is one supreme power. Even in Hinduism, where they have many, multiple gods, we learned that they are actually technically facets of the one spirit. So even in dealing with Hinduism, you can see the commonality of all life. And so when you can come and understand that you as the viewer watching us now are an individualized expression of the one spirit, and everything that spirit is, you are. You have to then understand without a doubt that every single person that you see is the exact same thing as you, an individualized expression of the one spirit. And it is their right to have their beliefs and their expression of spirit. It's when we can come together, like our democracy, to talk and to understand different viewpoints, that conflicts can be averted, where understanding can take root. The seeds of understanding can be planted and take root. And that is what has really helped our democracy to thrive and to expand. So again, it's the individualized expression of spirit. Your thoughts control your actions. Try to always see the other side of the coin. Understand your viewpoint, and I do this a lot myself. I have my viewpoints, and when I'm talking with somebody who has a different viewpoint, I try to put myself in their shoes, from their viewpoint, from their understanding, and then within myself, I can see and weigh and come up with new ideas, and that's how things evolve. It just doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while. But when you can understand where this other person is coming from and view them as perfect, whole, and complete, you can then have a conversation without getting to that type of emotional response, where talking and dialogue can happen, where things change in an orderly fashion, because that is ultimately how the universe operates. Everything changes in an orderly fashion, sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly. So I would like to open up the forum for my other, is Reverend Brad going to be talking next? I can't tell, I can't see. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
I think I'm going to jump in next, Reverend Williams. So thank you so much for those thoughts. And I loved really kind of in summary what you were saying is listen to understand, not to respond or to give your point of view, but try to listen to understand someone else's point of view. I really appreciate that thought, particularly with this question today. So for me, this question of finding equality with others is really personal. It's a really personal answer for me. And for me, it is all about love and acceptance. Whatever I see without love and acceptance, I realize I separate from. And finding equality with others means for me that I have to recognize that others are perfect just the way they are, and that they are on their own individual journey. And they are perfect regardless of how they have behaved toward me in the past or how I think they might behave toward me in the future. They're perfect regardless of how many problems they appear to have, and they are entitled to their experience. That's a big one. They are entitled to their experience, whether or not they like it, I like it, or anybody else likes it or agrees with it. And what I judge in another simply shows me an aspect of myself. An aspect of myself I haven't yet come to accept. And when I learn to love and accept this part of me, I won't need to make judgments about others. And that's when I experience equality with others. That's my thought today. Reverend Dale, how about you?
Thank you for that. I really appreciate this topic today, especially the idea of expectations that we have of others. It's been something very present on my inner work lately. And for me, it calls me to go to a bigger place of awareness. You know, we're all in our little selves that we have going on here, and it's all about us. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we're having this experience of individuality. But when I bump into that, well, why didn't they do that? And they're in that position and they should have done that. I have to like stop myself and say, you know, oh, silly little me, what am I thinking? They're supposed to be doing what I think they're supposed to be doing. And it gives me an opportunity to look within myself and just to what everybody else has been saying, this idea of just, you know, we're all equals here. We're all on our individual journeys, and people aren't here to do what I think they're supposed to do. And so it sort of breaks me out of that shell of that small mindedness and going to a bigger place of consciousness of seeing, you know, that we're all here having our experiences. And for me to just take care of me, if somebody didn't meet an expectation that I had, that's my problem. And I need to just know that everybody's doing what they're doing, and I need to just take care of me and what's mine to do, and just love everybody and appreciate what everybody else is doing here on this plane of existence. And you know, I think the best teaching that we can do is to teach by example and to live in that mindset of like what Cheryl brought to us today, to see everybody as equal, to see everybody as the divine in their individuality. And if judgment and unexpected or unmet expectations happen, that's a call to go within and see what's going on with us, and why it's so important for us, for people to follow what we think they need to do when there's a whole bigger reality going on there that's bigger than what our little minds know, that is the greater reality of spirit moving through all of us. So who is up next? I think, is it back to Reverend Cheryl or Reverend Bradley? I'm not sure.
Reverend Bradley will work on this. If the sound's okay. Perfect. So, you know, when we do this amazing show, and I call it amazing because I love listening to my colleagues, you know, we may get a topic ahead of time, but we're not planned and we don't structure what our response is going to be. We just take the amazingness of the topic speaker, and whatever flows through us from that is how we share. And every single one of the sharings so far have been amazing. In Science of Mind, in this teaching, this philosophy, we teach oneness. We don't teach sameness. So it's all one. There's one life. That life is my life. We are all one. There's only one planet we're all on. But it's not the same. We're not the same. No expressions are the same. And I love repeatedly, I've heard here, starting with Reverend Cheryl, that it can start with me. And, you know, it's a sweet phrase that's 2,000 years old of do unto others as you would do unto yourself. Well, let's skip that, because for those of us who are over 10, we know that we're not always amazingly loving and kind to ourselves, but we can be to others. And in that process of being loving and kind to others, now we've created that loving and kind energy that goes out. You've heard it repeatedly here of my ministerial colleagues saying about being loving and kind and compassionate, to just love others. You know, great example of that, of how to do that, is you've probably seen the videos over the years when a parent whose child was killed or physically injured by a person, and they go meet with that person in prison, and those two now develop a relationship. It doesn't mean that the perpetrator thinks what they did is okay. They're still feeling guilty about it. And it doesn't mean that the parent is saying it's okay what you did, but they can come together in the oneness of life and recognize each other for human beings having their own challenges and struggles, and just love them where they are, and be that. You've seen your kids break something. Do you say, that's it, relationship's over, out of the house? No. You move through it, you continue to love them, and you be present with them as a parent. We could do that more as adults. You heard me share earlier about screaming at the top of the lungs. Well, there's one topic or many topics that I may disagree with someone on. And we're saying, I'm never going to say you're wrong. I'm going to say, I believe this, and I don't think you're clear, or whatever else way I can maybe get around from saying you're wrong. But even that just sounds stupid, right? Because if an individual is saying, I feel things are this way, unless it's hurting someone else, like physically hurting someone else or emotionally hurting someone else, I'm not going to butt in. If I see them physically or hurting emotionally someone else, I'll butt in. I'll say, you know what? I get what you believe and you think you need to do this. Hit, spank, verbally abuse, etc. I've stopped in and I'll say, you don't get to do that. You get to tell me your opinion. And it goes back to Reverend Cheryl saying, starting here, I can learn all that by making sure that what I say and what I do is a loving and kind act towards you. And if I start from here, that if it feels loving and kind, then it can come out of me. And then I know from that breath space, however I support that child who's apparently misbehaving, which I don't know what having is, but if they're misbehaving, I want them to behave, which is still ambiguous, but you know what I'm talking about as a parent. And just be from that place of how can I be loving and kind, regardless of what you see in front of you. It's all about that. What you put out comes back. What you put out gets created. What you put out shows what's inside of you. If you're putting out CRAP, then that's what life is going to be. If you can put out love, then love has to be inside of you for it to come outside of you. So I think Reverend Cheryl wants to add some more to this.
Yes, I would. I just, do you realize just how boring life would be if we had just everyone was exactly the same? If everyone, there was, we all just marched in a row, everybody just little puppets basically. So, but that's not what God did for us. God did not make us into little puppets that he could, I hear other teachings that say, oh, look what God did to me, or the devil made me do it, or the devil's chasing me with a pitchfork right now. Everything in my life is bad because of what's going on around me. But the reality is that we have free will. And even though it might at times seem really difficult to do, we can change our opinion and our thoughts at any time. At any time, in this flash of a second, you can change what you're thinking or what you're feeling. Because God didn't put us here just to be, minions, just little people. We all have our own opinion, and it all comes from our life experience. So maybe the thought is to just think about honoring what somebody else is feeling. That's difficult when you disagree with them, but their life experience and everything that's going on in their life is a result of what their experiences have been. And so many times that we build our thoughts and everything around, it's like, my mom was a Democrat and I'll be a Democrat for the rest of my life, or my dad was a Republican, I'm going to be a Republican for the rest of my life. All I'm saying is just stop and examine what your thoughts are around something. Stop and think about, just looking at everyone and know that they are expressing themselves truly, naturally, through their own free will. And it is a power that we were given, that we have the power and the ability to be what we want. We have the power and ability to change our thoughts at any second. We are not preordained. We are not predestined to do anything. Everything that is occurring outside of ourselves right now is a result of our own perception. And if you just stop and think of it that way and just honor other people's perception. You don't know why they feel the way they do, but you don't have to change their mind. You don't have to do anything. The only person that you have to change is you and your thoughts around whatever's going on. And just love the diversity. I just adore the fact that there's so many different people. I love people, and I look at them and I see all the wonderful things that people create and they do and who they are. And sometimes I'm just, totally enthralled with listening to someone and seeing who they are, because they're expressing themselves. And I don't have to have an opinion around it. I can just listen. And that's the big thing. Just listen. You don't have to share. You don't have to feel a certain way. You don't have to change your mind around a situation just because somebody else feels that way. Do it on your own. Examine your own life and examine what you're feeling. And I still come back to this. Just come from a place of the heart space, from love. And it makes it so easy then, if you're just coming from a place of love. Anyway, I will now pass it on to Reverend William.
It's nice that you ended with that sentence, because that's exactly what I was going to talk about, is finding the equality with others. That begins with love. And if you are finding a hard time finding that equality with others, we talk about everything is an inside job. Where are you lacking with love in regards to yourself? I personally find, because I have a love for myself, that it leads me and allows me to have a greater understanding for different points of view. We're talking about, there's a lot of diversity. You can't have a diamond without facets. The entire diamond is just one thing, and this is a nice little analogy about spirit. The diamond ring is spirit, but the individualized expression of that one are the facets, and there's a multitude, which allows that to shine. Every single facet is a different idea, a different point of view, a different way of seeing life. When you can love yourself and love others, you can appreciate that diversity and come from that heart space, like Reverend Cheryl was talking about, and come from that love and understanding. When you can allow that to happen, the openness of your heart allows for dialogue, and it allows for understanding, which then allows for, like Reverend Brad was talking about, with someone going and seeing somebody who's in jail, and then they strike up a friendship. When you can see the commonality in someone who has different views as yourself, that makes you and them and us stronger. We are a unified force of the one divine spirit. And that allows us to elevate ourselves, elevate our thinking, elevate our understanding, to have more compassion and more love and greater expression of that one true self. And that is spirit, operating as law through love. And with that, I'd open it up to whoever wants to jump in next.
So thanks, Reverend William. This is Gail. I think I'll jump in next. So, for all of us today, we have talked a lot about the science of mind philosophy and teachings. And this philosophy and these teachings guide us. And then for us and for everyone, we all have to ask ourselves, what do we do with this teaching? How are we going to live through this teaching? And I have to decide, how is this philosophy going to express as me? And that really brings me to the foundation of my thoughts around this topic today. And the foundation behind my thoughts is that love is the essence of who you are and who I am. You and I are both born of love, period. And within your heart and mind right now, as well as mine, is the original spark of creation. It's there. and it belongs to you, and it can never, ever leave you. No matter where your life takes you, no matter how far you might stray from the path, you can't extinguish the spark of divinity within your own consciousness. It was and is God's gift to you and to me and to everyone. And the great news here is that you can forget about the gift. And from time to time, we all do. But guess what? You can't give it back. And you can't ignore it or deny it. Actually, you can. You can ignore it and deny it for a time. But guess what? You can't uncreate it. It's there. So if I want to find equality with others, what I need to do is I need to reconnect with spirit first. I need to love myself. I need to be compassionate with myself. And if I want to reconnect with myself, I need to love that person who's right in front of me or right behind me. And when I love another, I can feel compassion for and acceptance of not only myself, but others stirring in my heart and in my mind. So with that, Dale, what would you like to add?
Well, first, a shout out to Damawi. I know you, Damawi. She is a beloved congregant at Center for Spiritual Living Palm Desert. I'm so glad to see you chiming in, and we love you and appreciate you. And I'm glad that you're enjoying our show. We have a lot of fun doing it. I think what I want to say, kind of in our closing stretch here, is. And I'm going to just be real personal and transparent with you, which, I love to do. So, we talk about this, love everybody and see everybody as equal and all this stuff. But I ask myself, are there places where I draw a line and say, not if they do that? And this week for me has been one of those points where I had to do my deeper spiritual work because of the violence and the destruction. Do I say, well, not people who hate and not people who are destructive. Many of you know I grew up Jewish, and I have a lot of stuff with the Holocaust. And one of my grandma's family perished in the concentration camp, so I've got a personal relationship with it. So I see these people wearing T-shirts about Auschwitz and thinking that 6 million Jews weren't enough to. God, I can't even say it. Anyways, I don't want to dwell on that. So my call to my spiritual deepening happens at points like that, where I have to say, Dale, you're a minister of religious science. You cannot sit in unforgiveness. I cannot sit in fear of others. And so it behooves me at points like this, where I have to dissolve that line that says, I won't see good, or I won't love others if they do this. I have to take that away and say, I will love everybody no matter what. And it goes into what Reverend Gail was saying. When I know who I am as this divine expression of God, I have nothing to fear. And I know that in the heart of my soul. And so I am able to say to you right now, no matter what happened last week, I forgive all of those people. I go to compassion with them because I know there's a greater unfolding that's happening, and I don't need to live in fear. And I pray for those people that they're able to find their divine nature someday so they don't have to act in those ways. So I'm going to pass it on to whoever is next.
So as we move into the time of closing our event here today, would any of my cohorts like to make a final comment? Looks like everybody's good. Oh, Cheryl, Reverend Cheryl, yes.
I would just like to say that love only. That's all we have. Love only. And just forgive everything. This is from Reverend James Mellon, Dr. James Mellon now. But just love everything and just only come from love and forgive everything. There's no reason to hold on to it. And just never forget who and what you are. You're a spiritual being having a human expression. But thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And I now invite you all to take the next breath. Let the next breath you take just be deeper than the one before, just like this. And then as you exhale with me, let that movement of breath make the transition into our time of offering. I want to thank you for all of the help that has been sent our way to sustain the center. For those who have been making donations online and sending it in their checks. If you'd like to make a donation today, we would be most grateful. You can do that online at www.cslpalmdesert.org and clicking on the donate button, or you can send a physical check to the center or call the office to donate by credit card. It is together with our collective financial commitments that we assure that our beautiful center and its programs, just like this one, will continue to thrive and grow and support each of us and our families in whatever way is meaningful. We have got a great live stream lineup this week. Mark your calendars for 10 a.m. every day. Tomorrow, Thursday, is Dr. Laura and the Higher View. Friday follows with Reverend Charles and Life on Love, followed on Saturday by our 30-minute guided meditations. And what would Sunday be like without our weekly service and spirit boost? Check out our website, where you're going to find banners which describe each of these 10 a.m. opportunities and more. Also consider signing up for and joining us every Wednesday morning for our Power of 8 Circle and Thursday evenings at 5 p.m. for the Social 8. I'm wondering if my cohorts would like to announce anything in particular. Reverend Dale.
Thank you, Reverend Gail, for that option. So I am starting the Spirit of Women CSL Palm Desert Women's Group. It's a monthly gathering. We're going to start this Sunday. It is the 17th. We're going to do virtual, obviously, 12:30 to about 1:30 p.m. And we will be having a guest speaker each week, a guided meditation, and then we're going to go into break-off groups and have some connecting through discussion. So I would love for you to join me. There's a link. If you go to our website, there's a link in the on the banner pages that scroll. If you hit the one that says Spirit of Women, you'll go to the link to the virtual meeting, and I will be there with an open heart and love for us to gather together and start our journey as a women's group. It's really going to be a group that grows together. I'm going to be getting a lot of insights for you for what you want this to look like. So it's going to be something we're going to build together, and I'm very excited. Thank you, Reverend Gail.
You are most welcome, and thank you for this women's group that's upcoming. How exciting. So as we close this session today, please join me in our benediction. As I close this amazing heart space where I feel such deep, deep gratitude. I am so thankful for today's gift of connection. I'm so thankful for the ageless, timeless, infinite, and ever-giving spiritual energy that is immersed every moment of this time together. I now bless each friend forward in peace, love, and joy, knowing the vibrant energy of the universe guides, guards, and protects as each person here. And all is well. Please join me in saying, and so it is.